Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and I've had a green week, which makes a nice change from the sort of drawdown I've been experiencing last few weeks. This sort of green, similarly to the red, is mostly off the back of CleanSpark. It's up nearly 20% for the week, so maybe the sell-off is sort of coming to a close. Maybe there's a bit more to go. Who knows? But yeah, not a huge amount of move in anything else. The sort of semiconductors coming off ever so slightly. Broadcom sort of got up to the high 1200s and has come back a little, but still fairly happy with that. And yeah, TSMC sort of hanging out at 115 to 20, so quite good. But let's have a look at some of the news. So we've got the first earnings release for the quarter, and it's TSMC. They normally show their balance sheet first for some reason, but fair enough. Cash and cash equivalents are up quite significantly in Taiwan dollars at least. I don't think the exchange rate has changed all that much from the looks of it. So yeah, nice little cash balance is always healthy. Property, plant and equipment has actually come down for the quarter ever so slightly. Whether that's just sort of depreciation, they're not building anything, massive. Not sort of getting massive progress in the last quarter, but that's fair enough. I'm sure that'll be coming over the next year or two with the US and Japan facilities and Germany as well. But yeah, looking good. Debt-wise, the sort of current debt is very low, which is nice, down into sort of single figures. And yeah, bonds, long-term bonds, is slightly down from last quarter, up on last year, but yeah, a reasonable number, especially considering that large cash balance. So nice looking balance sheet, really. And then income statement, like I say, we kind of know a little bit more from the income statement than you would on most companies, because we've seen all three monthly revenue figures. So yeah, revenue's up. We kind of knew this. There was a one-off very, very high month, and a couple of the other months have been pretty good. So yeah, 625 billion Taiwan dollars, which is very good. It's like almost exactly the same, 0.0% different to fourth quarter last year. So very unusual there, but quite a bit up on last quarter. So very nice. And then you got costs, unsurprisingly, up quite a bit from last year, and a little up from last quarter as well. But what they do have now is interest on that cash balance. So that's actually putting up income before tax to increase from income from operations. So quite nice. Net income is quite a bit down from last year, but up on last quarter. It's sort of similar to everything basically, and nice earnings per share. So hopefully, if we've seen sort of the worst of things from this sort of third and second quarter last year, then should be good. And they give a little bit more detail on the presentation. So this sort of quarter was the high end of guidance pretty much across the board: gross margin, operating margin, and revenue. And 38.2% net profit is extremely high. It's higher than most of the big tech companies. So very nice, although it was 47% in the same quarter last year. That was just a rather large sort of one-off period, really. 38% is very nice. And 3 nanometer really sort of coming into play now. It was just a small proportion last quarter, and is now quite a bit, 15% of revenue. So kind of expected. You get Apple and people like that moving on to the new node. This growth in revenue as well has come from high performance computing. Unsurprisingly, that's sort of the joint largest sector. Smartphones as well doing really well. Automotive just continues to increase mostly. Internet of Things down. It's a small section and sort of is a bit weird. And for the whole of 2023, it's slightly different. Smartphone sales down on previous year. High performance computing about the same, so that's fine. Hopefully, sort of AI will push that on and on. Internet of Things is down for the year. Automotive doing really well as expected. Move to EVs has tons and tons of chips. And yeah, digital consumer electronics down 16%, but it's a tiny section. This is your sort of just basic appliances and that sort of thing. Don't really have a huge amount of chips, and others down a little, but it's the big categories we look for. And the first quarter guidance isn't great. It's revenue down slightly from quarter just gone, Q4, and profit margins sort of round about the same, 52 to 54% gross margin and 40 to 42% operating margin. So yeah, hoping for sort of the rest of 2024 to be sort of uplifting, but first quarter isn't so great. So no other earnings for the week. We'll start to get more in the next few weeks, but we did have a production update from KGHM. So the December numbers, copper was really good, 64,000 tonnes, up from last year, and slightly higher than last month if I recall, so that's good, but the yearly total is down slightly, still a reasonable number I think. Silver was down slightly from last month, but is significantly up on the year, so 1,428 tonnes. I don't normally measure tons in silver in tons, but yeah, that's about sort of getting on 50 million ounces, so very nice total, and hopefully sort of gold and silver can break out over the next year or two. Then this 50 million total should start to sort of make an impact, because I still think KGHM largely move up and down on the copper price rather than the silver price. So just looking at the economic news, a few bits and pieces. The European Central Bank got together and held rates the same. No huge surprises there. We're expecting the rest to sort of be similar. FOMC meeting I think is next week rather, early next week. So can't imagine anything sort of particularly special from them. Maybe the speech afterwards will give a little bit more insight, but yeah, then I expect it to be dropping rates until sort of April, May time. And yeah, jobless claims sort of ever so slightly higher, but nothing to sort of get too worked up about. Did have the provisional, and this is always sort of be taken with a pinch of salt. I'm sure it'll get revised, but GDP for the US, 3.3%, was expected at 2%. To come down from a much bigger number last quarter. Remember, this was sort of got revised up and then revised down again, and yeah, they're now saying 3.3%. So whether this will get revised down, you don't know. They seem to like to make the headlines and then quietly revise it afterwards, whichever sort of suits them. And then Friday you had the PCE, Jerome Powell's favourite inflation measure, and core PCE is sort of what he always mentions. That's 2.9%, a bit lower than expectations, quite a bit down on last month. So he might be sort of pushing the dovish rate cuts narrative a little bit more than expected. You had headline PCE 2.6%, so that's flat. That was expected to be flat. And sort of your 0.2% on the monthlies, so compounded, it's around their target. So whether they'll start thinking about maybe lowering a bit sooner than expected, we don't know. Powell did say before that they would likely cut before they get to 2% inflation, so not wanting to wait too long, cause a recession and then cut. They're going for this soft landing, and he said he thinks it is still possible. So as I say, it's a fairly short update this week. Not a huge amount happened in the invest account. On the ISA side, as I say, clean spark up about 20%. That needs a long way to go. ETF inflows are starting to look a little bit better, and Grayscale sort of selling off appears to be slightly shortening. Come back to that tomorrow, maybe in a little more detail in the crypto video. Gold and silver still sort of hanging around the same levels, so the miners sort of haven't really done a huge amount. Sort of REITs sticking where they are, basically. Similar with Pan American and KGHM, not really moving a huge amount. KGHM is a little bit off the lows that it got to. It was sort of mid hundreds, 105, I think it was. So that's better to see that back up there. And yeah, I couldn't actually log into Interactive Brokers to update 100% on the options, but yeah, they're doing some maintenance. But this is pretty much the figure that it was last night. So yeah, that's around about where we are. Still adding quite a bit more. Sort of waiting for an opportune time to maybe deposit a couple of thousand more and sort of go big on this bet. It is, you know, even though it's 2 years to run on, certainly on Equinox and Himax, and sort of a year and 10 months, I think, on Kua Mining, you do start to wonder. There's potential for these options to expire worthless, so putting a load of money into them is high risk, but I do still see things coming off in the next 2 years. So these seems like my best risk reward bet. I have sort of said even better than crypto potentially, because I'm sort of expecting crypto to top in the next 2 years. So if gold and silver and everything does well in the next 2 years, then yeah, I can't see sort of crypto outperforming some of these options. So we'll see. It's a risky bet, but I'm going for it. So leave your thoughts in comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.